Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC Vegas 65 Spivac versus Lewis. First things first, make sure you hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is the Stats and Stacks podcast. To address the elephant in the room, it was a god awful week last week. Terrible, 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 terrible. I was usually I do well on the smaller cards, and then the pay-per-views I struggle, but for the last like four pay-per-views, I've been crushing the pay-per-views. Not everything came full circle. I got absolutely destroyed. By far one of the worst betting nights I've ever had. Dominic Reyes, oh my god. He died. That was terrible. That's all on me. The dog, Silvana Suarez was somewhat close, but there's so many things I should have seen coming, and I just didn't for whatever reason. So I'm hoping for a serious regression in the other direction this go around. His fight card's not bad. Usually the fight cards before the pay-per-view and after the pay-per-view are pretty rough. This one, when they announced the main event, I was getting nervous. If that's the main event, how bad is the fight card going to be? I actually enjoy it quite a bit. It is kind of hard to bet. There are some red flags on this card, but all in all, on an entertainment standpoint, it should be a pretty fun card. So let's not waste any time. Let's hop right into it. Again, I believe the start time's at like 1 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's an early one. Make sure you're aware of that as you're placing your bets and everything. But yeah, 12 fight offering, not too shabby. Kind of fun to do the fight tape on some of these fighters. So again, we'll start with the very first fight of the night. We're going to start off with a lock. We have Natalia Silva at minus 170 going up against Teresa Bleda at plus 145. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 240. Under 2.5 is plus 195. Let's start with Natalia because that's my girl. She's very good. She's only 25 years old, so she's ever improving. Not even in her prime yet. Her striking's phenomenal. Her striking's very good. It did not look that good on the fight tape. And then she came out, and I saw that I have a rule that if someone is young and if they take a year or two off, and they're young, that's the trick. They have to be young, and it can't be because of injury. They can't take off, because of, like a torn ACL or something like that. It has to be on their accord. As long as they're young and they come back, I always bet on them because they always come back really improved. We don't know what we're going to see, but we know we're going to see something better. We saw her in 2019, then she did not fight again until 2022. 3 years. She was 25 coming back. She followed the rule. Jasmine Jasdavicius is not bad, but she's kind of one-dimensional. So I figured, hey, this girl's jiu-jitsu isn't bad. Her striking seems all right. If she's able to keep this on the feet or at least get back up to her feet, she should be fine. She looked so much better than anticipated. Her striking went from not bad to good. It's very good. Everything in combination. I love every aspect of her striking. And then her takedown defense. 100% takedown defense, and Jasmine tried. Believe me, she tried body locks. She tried shooting a single. She tried everything she could. Natalie stuffed everything and then took her down 2 times. So I was uber impressed with her improvement in the wrestling game, the way she throws all of her combinations, the flashiness, and her cardio checked out. She didn't have any sort of cardio issues with the amount of volume she was throwing out there. So again, the takedown defense was huge for me though. Like she looked very tough to take down. She backs up a lot in her fights where optically you would think it's a little sketchy, but she throws as she backs up. She's one of these people that are comfortable, like a Dustin Jacoby that can strike real well while going backwards. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's not too bad here. On the flip side, you have Teresa. Give me 1 second. I talked about Natalie being young. Teresa is even younger here. She's actually only 20 years old. She hasn't fought the greatest competition along the way yet. Her wrestling seems all right, a little overrated. She has pretty good ground and pound, but I just wasn't uberly impressed with her wrestling. Her striking seems okay as well, but she seems a little tentative up there. She does love to counter a ton. But again, Natalie throws everything in combination, so that's a good way to counter a counter. All in all, I think she's just too green and she's just too young. She wants to do the right things and have appropriate game plans, but she's just too young and too green. So I can't bet on that. I can't bet on her. She's making her UFC debut off the Contender Series, so it's not really anything that I ever really want to back a young person coming off of Contender Series. I'm good. So the pick is going to be Natalie, and the bet is going to be Natalie. All right. Then the next fight of the night, we have Fernie Garcia going up against Brady Highstand. Brady is the minus 155 favorite. Fernie is the plus 135 dog. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 195. Sorry, over 2.5 is minus 195. Under 2.5 at plus 160. Let's start with Brady coming off of the Ultimate Fighter finale. Is the last time we saw him against Ricky Tercios, who's also on this card. Only 23 years old. He doesn't fully meet the taking time off as a young kid approach because it was like less than it was about a year. It wasn't too long. His striking's is not good. The striking's not good. I'll be honest with you. His wrestling is very good. His jiu-jitsu, his top game, very good. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here, which I love. He loves to go forward. He can't really do anything when he's going backwards. He has to go forward. The problem with him is his cardio. And I don't like that he has cardio issues at 23. Hopefully he finds a way to adjust that, fixes his fight style. But he's super young, super good wrestling. It's just one dimensional, a little green, and suspect cardio. So he's gonna win the right matchup, but if he's put in a tough situation, things might get a little greasy for him. Fernie Garcia isn't necessarily a tough situation. Fernie is pretty good striking. His hands are fast as hell, like one of some of the fastest hands I've ever seen at 135. Like very fast boxing. It's just he doesn't have a ton of power. He seems to throw hard, but not get a ton of knockouts. Looking here, a lot of decisions on his record. His jiu-jitsu is all right. It's good enough to counteract anything that Brady's trying to do. His wrestling, he does get taken down, so that's a little concerning. But he does seem to have a good get-up game. And if you have someone that continually gets up, that also tires out the person taking them down a ton. And Brady already has some cardio issues, and that's the only reason I'm going to go ahead and take Fernie as a dog. Honestly, I think Brady has. If you give me striker versus wrestler, I'll always take the wrestler. But if the wrestler has cardio issues, that's concerning if they have to continually wrestle to do it. I think Brady's going to come out and dominate, and then start to fade, and Fernie's going to take over. It could be a late Fernie finish, or it could be a greasy split decision. If it's a decision and it's split and greasy, give me the plus 135 dog or live bet Fernie. That's the way I'll probably take it. If Brady looks tired at all going into the second, I'll go ahead and I'll take Fernie there and live bet that. Next fight of the night, I might be dog chasing again. We have Maria Oliveira at minus 120 going up against Vanessa Demopoulos at plus 100. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 215. Under 2.5 at plus 175. Let's start with Maria. It seems very odd that Maria Oliveira is a favorite anywhere. She's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage here. That is massive. Only 25 years old. Super high volume. She throws a ton. She does not stop swinging. She throws volume the entire 15 minutes. She's a little bit of a cam crusher when you look at her record. I mean, she's beating a lot of girls that aren't very good. 0-0, 0-1. She fought Marina Rodriguez. That was just murder. 3-3, 0-6, 2-0, 1-0, 0-0, 1-3. God, she's a can crusher. The best win she has is her last win over Gloria De Paula. And honestly, I thought Gloria might have done enough to win. It was pretty sketchy. I can see where Maria won. So there's it wasn't that sketchy, I guess. I guess Maria kind of won, but again, that she's not the greatest fighter in the world. She's 6-4 herself. So again, Maria's not the greatest fighter, but if you're not supposed to be there, she'll take advantage. Um, the thing is, when Gloria DePaula and Tabitha Ricci tried to take her down in the UFC. When they used a body lock takedown, they struggled. Her takedown defense seemed to check out. But if they shot a blast double or a single leg, she went right down easily. So it's all contingent on what type of wrestling you're doing with her. It seems like her Greco stuff is fine. But if you're just going folk style, shooting on some legs, she seems to struggle. I mean, we just saw Grant Dawson take down an Olympic wrestler over and over and over, and Marco Madsen. Because Marco Madsen's a Greco guy. He's used to using his upper body for his wrestling. Grant shot 0 takedowns that way, only on the legs, and it was successful. So I could see the same thing happening here. Which results in her 46% takedown defense. If you shoot on this girl's leg, you can get her down. Her get up game didn't seem the greatest, in all honesty. And she has a little bit of quit in her. We saw against Marina Rodriguez. Yes, Marina was way too good for her, but she literally quit. She turned around and said no more in the middle of the fight and just decided that she was done. So I can't put any money on someone that takes a hard shot and then turns around to the ref and says, "Get me out of here." I can't do that. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to bet Vanessa Demopoulos. She's not the greatest thing on earth. Her jiu-jitsu is good. Her jiu-jitsu is top notch. Fight ready, awesome gym. Her wrestling is the issue. She's another one of these people that has great ground game, super good on the ground, but can't wrestle. We just saw it last week against Dan Hooker and Claudio Puelles. Who was better on the ground? When Claudio actually got Dan on the ground, he threatened Dan and got Dan in some serious trouble, but he couldn't wrestle and get him down there, and it ultimately cost him the fight. So you have to be able to wrestle. Her striking, not the greatest. She's scrappy. She's not technical by any means. She's giving up 7 inches of reach. She just puts her head down, bites on her mouthpiece, and scraps on the feet. That's really all she is. Her cardio checks out, which is nice. But the only reason I'm betting Vanessa Demopoulos here is, one, because she's the underdog. 2, her ground game is top notch. And 3, even though she can't really wrestle, Fight Ready is like the #1 wrestling camp that I can think of. Everyone at Fight Ready can wrestle, even if it's not your bread and butter. Zhang Wei Li is going out there and wrestling girls. Like, if you are at Fight Ready, you are working on your wrestling, and I think that's why Vanessa chose there. So if she's gonna be a jiu-jitsu practitioner and focus on winning her fights down there, she's at the perfect camp to help her get down there. And her first fight with Fight Ready against Jinyu Frey, she landed a beautiful blast double. And that's all I needed to see in the fight tape. That's the exact way. If you go on Maria's legs, that's how you get her down. That's the only takedown I ever saw Vanessa get, was shooting on someone's legs. So if she can do it again, she's going to kill her on the ground. So the pick is going to be Vanessa. The bet would be Vanessa, but not a lot of confidence. That's just a sheer dogger pass. It's all based on her wrestling. Next fight of the night, we have Ricky Tercios at -155 going up against Kevin the TV Dad at +135. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 -210. Under 2.5 +170. Let's go ahead and start with Ricky Tercios, the Ultimate Fighter winner, the one who beat Brady Heinstead in the finale. All in all, his striking's pretty good. His striking's not bad. He's not super old. He's 29 years old. He'll have a 2-inch reach advantage here. He throws a ton of volume, but that could be at his detriment. I mean, his last fight was, honestly, I don't mind Ricky Tercios, but that last fight against Zahabi was embarrassing. He was just throwing punches out there with no intention of even hitting anyone. He was just throwing jabs out there, and it looked really, really ugly. He ended up landing like 7% of his strikes. Like, it was some astronomically low number because he was just throwing stuff out there. There was no technique. There was no intent. And his takedown defense is 45%. That's not a good look. Is that skewed a little bit because of Brady, who's a decent wrestler? Yeah, Brady trains with Michael Chiesa and Julia Pena out there in Washington. They're good wrestlers out there in Washington. Terrence McKinney, like, all those people can wrestle. So, I mean, Ricky getting taken down 6 or 8 times or something like that by Brady, it happens. But that means he kept getting up because he has good cardio. He does have good cardio. He'll go for days. He's just one of these guys that throws a ton of volume, super good cardio, and if you take them down, he pops right back up. His jiu-jitsu checks out, but he's not finishing a lot of people. Doesn't have really any knockouts on his record, hardly. Doesn't have a lot of submission wins. You see a lot of decisions. Decision, a KO, nice. Decision, a KO, which is nice. Decision. Like all of his, so he has one armbar, decision. He's a big decision guy. So his fights are always greasy. I am going to pick him to win, but it's going to be a sweat the entire time. Don't put too much money on Ricky Tercios, mainly because Kevin Natividad is a striker himself. He's someone that goes out there, excelled in the Arizona regional scene because of his striking. I mean, look at his. His are knockouts, decision, knockout. Most of his wins are by KO. He has one submission on his record. But yeah, majority of wins are by knockout. His striking's not terrible, but it's a little overrated. We see the difference. The fight tape of watching him in the regional scene compared to fighting people in the UFC is concerning. I mean, Danab Bakhtarel knocked him out in 50 seconds, so he might be a little chinny. Miles Johns knocked him out. Miles Johns is a wrestler. All he has is a jab and a check right hook. That's literally all he has. We'll talk about him a little later on the card. So the fact that he got knocked out by a wrestler and then got knocked out in 50 seconds is very concerning. You might be a little chinny and you might be a little bit of a can crusher, in all honesty. But one of my favorite people to listen to is Clint over at the Die Hard MMA podcast. Make sure you give him a listen. He puts on great work. He always has a special guest. He had a special guest in Brandon, was Olivas. Anyway, Brandon was on, and Brandon is a fighter, and Brandon does train a little of Kevin Natividad, and he can't give away anything. He brought Vanessa on, which was super cool. He can't give away the strategy or anything like that. Vanessa herself said it's no secret. I'm gonna want to go out there and take her down and submit her. So that's not a secret. He was allowed to do that. Kevin, he didn't want to say what the approach was, but on his breakdown, he did mention Ricky Tercios' takedown defense multiple times. So I think he was accidentally alluding to the fact that Kevin's going to go out and wrestle. Can you take down Ricky Tercios? Absolutely. 45% takedown defense. It's not that difficult. However, he can get back up, and Kevin's not a natural wrestler. He's a natural striker. Whenever I see these people that need to strike go out and wrestle, things get real hairy and greasy, and they seem to gas a ton because they're not used to wrestling like that. That is not their MO. That is not what their body is accustomed to, and it just kind of puts them in a shock. So I never trust a non-wrestler to wrestle. I learned my lesson. So the pick is going to be Ricky. The bet is going to be Ricky. Even though Kevin's going to have the right game plan, I just don't think he's going to be able to execute it. Then the next fight, we're talking about the aforementioned Miles Johns at -145, going up against Vince Morales at +125. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 -165. Under 2.5 +135. We already started talking about Miles, so let's jump right into it as he's taking this fight on short notice. I hate that because he is someone that tends to slow down a little in fights. He does gas out a little. His jiu-jitsu also a little questionable at times. His striking is improving. It's not good, but it is improving. You see him, he got back-to-back knockouts here before fighting John Castaneda. Wasn't against the greatest competition in Kevin and Anderson Dos Santos, but it is what it is. He does have a good win against Adrian Yanez on his record, but he wrestled the entire time. What he did before he made it to the UFC was wrestle. That's all he did. And he's good at it, man. He's a good wrestler. I know he had a scholarship for wrestling. He has a short, stocky build. This dude looks like a wrestler. He fights like a wrestler. That's what he's supposed to do. On the feet, all he has is a power jab and a check right hook. That's literally the only strikes I've ever seen the man throw. So he is not really a threat on the feet as long as you can watch out for those two things. Otherwise, yeah, it just really comes down to his cardio. And that concerns me with him taking a fight on short notice. On the flip side, Vince Morales doesn't necessarily have a cardio issue by any means. His biggest issue is probably his leg kicks. That's all anyone ever tries to do to him now because he refuses to check leg kicks for whatever reason. Striking, not terrible. He has a really high school wrestling pedigree, but never wrestles in his fights. I hate that. And he somehow only has a 43% takedown defense, even though he's supposed to be a very good wrestler. It's very odd. I don't really know when, he left high school and decided he's done with this wrestling thing and he's just not going to do it anymore. I don't know what got into him. But he has it in his back pocket. He's not the worst wrestler. I don't know why he has 43% takedown defense. His thing is he's hittable. He's very hittable. He throws heavies on the feet. He doesn't have a ton of knockouts, but he has a few. He used to get a lot of knockouts, and he turned into decision guy. I mean, you look at his regional scene, they're pretty much all KOs. Then he makes it to the UFC, and he gets all decisions. And then 2 fights ago, he finally got another knockout, and then he got pieced up by Jonathan Martinez. Don't get me wrong, his losses aren't bad. Jonathan Martinez, good. Chris Gutierrez, we just saw him last week, good. Benito Lopez, I mean, whatever. He's all right. Song Yadong, good. Domingo Pilarte, he's all right. Like, he doesn't have bad losses. Even Josh Wick just fought on the Contender Series. Like, he literally has 0 bad losses. So he's another one of these gatekeepers. I also feel like Miles Johns is a gatekeeper. I do trust the durability of Vince a lot more than I do Johns. I also trust his cardio a lot more. But the last fight I said I couldn't trust a non-wrestler to wrestle. I think Miles Johns has no choice but to wrestle in this matchup, and he is a wrestler, so I trust him a little more. So I'll go ahead and make him the pick. As far as a bet, I can't touch the over/under with Miles Johns' chin and his cardio. So I'll actually just say dog or pass in regards to betting. I think Johns wins this fight, but he does find ways to choke. He is a choke artist, so I don't really feel comfortable with a short notice choke artist. So I'll pick him to win, but the bet would end up being Vince. Right, next fight of the night is one I've gone back and forth with the entire time. I don't know what to do with this. Jennifer Maia plus 150, Marina Moreau minus 175, over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 minus 345, under 2.5 plus 265. My biggest issue is the line, man. Maria Moreau is one of my sleepers in this division. I think she's very good. I think no one knows the name. She's very underrated, and I was cashing, baby. Maria Gapova, I smashed Moreau in that spot and was rewarded heavenly. Like, she was the underdog in that matchup somehow. Mayra Bueno Silva, she was the underdog in that matchup somehow. Sabina Mazo, she was the underdog in this matchup somehow. I don't understand why she's always the dog, but she keeps winning for me as the dog, and I absolutely love it. Her striking's okay. They bill her as a Ukraine national women's boxing team or something weird like that. Her striking's just okay. She will have a 3-inch reach advantage here, which is big. And she'll mix in wrestling. She's not a wrestler by nature, but she catches you off guard. She stands with you. She's all right on the feet. That's a close fight on the feet, and then she gets the takedown to secure the round. I do like that fight IQ. She also, speaking of fight IQ, does the Caitlin Chukagian Kia, and she yells every single time she throws a punch. So whether she actually lands it or not, it kind of sounds like she does because she's yelling the entire time. And that's going to pay dividends in the apex. You don't have the crowd to drown that out. You're going to hear every time she yells, and they're going to think that she lands some of these. And she's never been finished. She's fought people that are really good on the ground. She's fought people that are really good on the feet, and she seems perfectly fine. She's just a generalist, and a generalist that's always a dog and wins me money. But she's the favorite here, and she's going up against Jennifer Maia. Jennifer Maia's not terrible. She's another one of these people that are very, very good on the ground, but cannot wrestle to save her life. But her striking's not bad. She's over at shoot to box. She has that shoot to box striking style where she just marches forward. She'll eat a few to dish out a ton. She throws everything with power. Her striking's not terrible. She actually impressed me in the Manon Farot fight. She didn't look terrible on the feet. Manon is probably the best striker in the division. Second best. Valentina's probably the best striker. But yeah, Maia's striking's not bad, but her bread and butter is her jujitsu. She gets down to the ground, she can finish you. Just ask Joanne Wood. If you get down there, you're in some serious trouble. But she's never been finished herself. She's awfully durable. It's just she's okay on the feet. She's very good on the ground, but she's terrible at wrestling. So most of her fights take place on the feet. So this one also will probably take place on the feet, unless, again, Moreau usually has some pretty close fights and then decides to take you down to steal the round. Is she going to take Jennifer Maia down? Because then you're playing with fire. I don't know. I like Moreau's here. I don't like the line. I love Moreau. She won me so much money, but as the dog, I don't like her as a minus 175 favorite. That's a little sketchy. It's swinging a little too much in the opposite direction. So the pick is Moreau's. The bet would be a dog or pass on Maya, but what I feel most comfortable with is the over. Again, none of these girls have ever been finished. It's just that it's been steamed. The minus 345, that's a ton. That's a ton to pay. If you want to throw it in some parlays, I don't see how that doesn't hit. The only way it doesn't hit is if she takes down Maya and Maya like arm bars her. That's the only way. But oh, and I'll say I'll pick Marina. The bet will be Jennifer. Or if you want to eat some chalk or throw some parlays, I would take that over all day. Next fight of the night is another good fight that no one realizes how good it is. It's Zalgas Zumagulov at plus 135 going up against Charles Johnson at minus 155. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 230. Under 2.5 at plus 185. Let's start with Zalgas because he is someone that I keep betting on and losing, but I think he's good, man. Zalgas is good. He has good striking. He has good wrestling. He showed in his last fight. He's a little hittable. That's mainly because he's so short, has a little itty bitty reach. His jiu-jitsu is fine. We've seen everything on display. His record is showing. He's showing a what a oh god 1-4 record in the UFC. I didn't realize it was so bad. But Julian Paiva's no joke, and Zalgas got screwed in that fight. That was that fight over on Fight Island. Everyone and their mother said Zalgas won, but the judges gave it to Paiva for whatever reason. Amir Abazi is the best flyweight no one talks about. He's very, very good. My favorite active UFC fighter is Brandon Royval, so I'm a little concerned about the Abazi fight coming up, but that's another subject. We'll reach that later. Jerome Rivera, awful. One of the worst flyweights I've ever seen in the division, and Zalgas treated him appropriately. Went out there, stand the guillotine, and made it look easy. Manel Kopp, the competitive first round until it wasn't. Got caught. I think he got hit with like a flying knee, and then no, Ode got hit with the knee. He got hit with something, and then got put out. Not fully, but the ref went in and saved him. And then his last fight, I had Jeff Molina as a lock. I was all in on Jeff Molina. Zalgas came out with a singlet, made it really, really greasy. Who do I think won? Zalgas. Who did I have money on? Jeff Molina. Who did the judges give it to? Jeff Molina. I think we got away with one that week. So you have good luck, you have bad luck. It sways back and forth, and we just happen to have good luck that day. I think Zalgas got screwed, and that's why he's still here. He's fighting Jeff Molina's ranked, but now Kopp ranked, Amir Abazi ranked, Julian Paiva switch weight classes. So I mean, he's fought all ranked guys outside of Jerome Rivera, who we finished early. Zalgas is good. It's just he's going to always be like on that top 10. If you give him a top 5 guy, he's going to struggle. On the flip side, Charles Johnson is not a top 5 guy by any means, but he's underrated. This dude is the guy that they sacrificed to Makayev over in England. He has pretty good wrestling. He has pretty good striking. His cardio is on point. And his schedule, man. I mean, his jiu-jitsu seems fine. That's probably his weakest point, but at the end of the day, I mean, he only has one fight in the UFC. And look at the people he's fought. Muhammad Makayev. He's fought Carlos Mata, who's now in the UFC. Yuma Horiguchi is very good. He fought Brandon Royval, who's ranked in the UFC. Like, this guy has fought the who's who over in the regional scene. Michael Graves, like, he's fighting good guys. At the end of the day, it's his cardio that's probably his best weapon. He is cardio for days. And his striking is not terrible. He just wasn't able to display anything that last fight because Muhammad was on him like crazy. He did not leave his side. He was all over him. I think this is the Charles Johnson coming out party. It's just, is it going to be on Zalgas's expense? I don't know. Zalgas is good. They're both good. They're both disrespected. They're both underrated, and they're fighting each other. I understand the shot on Zalgas. I almost did it, but I'm not going to. I'll probably end up just taking the over at minus 230. That's the best bet here. The pick is going to be Charles Johnson. The bet would be Johnson, but the best one's going to be the over. I think the over hits 9 times out of 10. Then the next fight is one that we can fly through. It's my boy Jack Della Maddalena at minus, God, it was minus 555 the last time I checked, going up against Danny Roberts at like plus 400. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 is minus 105. Under 1.5 at minus 125. Word for Jack Della is smooth, man. This guy is good. He's smooth. He lost his first two fights, decided he didn't like losing, and has never done it again. The dude is very, very, very good striking. Only 26 years old, so you see the improvement each time out. Submissions, top notch. He's been put in some tough situations and got out with flying colors. Cardio checks out. He was in an absolute war with Angelusa over in the Contender Series. We didn't realize how good of a fight we were getting until they both are in the UFC and they both look phenomenal. He's huge, really big guy. Good win over Ramazan Ameev. He was able to get taken down. His takedown defense can improve. That's the one area where I say his wrestling is where he could work. But again, his jiu-jitsu's fine, and his get-up game is just fine. He'll get right back to the ground. He's or to the feet. He's one of these guys that like to invest in the body. I love that. He does a ton of body work. He will continually blast your ribs and then go up high, catch that chin. I mean, it is what it is. He's a very, very methodical, good striker, very good fighter. I like the kid a lot. He's the future. On the flip side, Danny Roberts is the past. He's not very good, pretty chinny. His striking's his best quality. His striking's not bad, but he's hittable on the feet. And that's not a good quality when you have a little bit of a chin issue. Even if they don't want to strike with you, if they want to take you down, they can. 57% takedown defense. He's 35 years old. And honestly, he's been in the promotion for a while. I'm looking at his record. Who is he beaten? I mean, he fought 48-year-old Francisco Trinaldo and lost. Ramazan Ameev, he won a split decision I didn't think he deserved. And again, that's a common opponent. MMA math doesn't work, but Jack Della knocked out Ramazan in the first round. Zalim Imadaev now cut from the promotion. Michel Pereira ate his lunch. I saw that live. Destroyed him. Claudio Silva, zero cardio, but still was able to beat him in the third round. David Zalata, no longer in the promotion. Oliver Enkamp, no longer in the promotion. Nordine Taleb, not in the promotion, but he still lost. Bobby Nash, no longer in the promotion. Mike Perry, not in the promotion, but still lost. Dominique Steele, no longer in the promotion. Nathan Coy, no longer in the promotion. He has beaten no one that is still in the UFC. All these people have been cut outside of the Ramazan Ameev fight. That was greasy as all could be. I don't think he won that fight. I don't think he looked good. And I do see him getting finished a ton. I mean, Trinaldo had him on skates. I don't know why the ref didn't step in. Michel Pereira knocked him out in 2 minutes. Claudio Silva tapped him out. Nordine head kicked him to death. Mike Perry knocked him out. Yeah, when he's losing, he's going out. And I think it's going to happen again. I think Jack Della is going to absolutely destroy him. And this is just something to make Jack look good. So the pick is going to be Jack. The bet is going to be Jack. The line is way too high. I don't want to play with the over under because, again, Jack is patient and he will invest in the body. It could be early in the first, it could be late in the second. I don't know when. And it's set at 1.5. I don't want to touch that. So I would just say Jack Della by finish. Play that prop and call it a day. Then the next fight is honestly probably the fight I'm looking forward to most on the card. We have Muslim Solikov at minus 115 going up against Andre Fiallo at minus 105. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is plus 100. Under 2.5 at minus 130. And there's a reason it's deemed that way. I don't even know who you want to start with because it's basically the same thing. Let's start with Muslim. Muslim is very, very, very good striking. The king of Kung Fu. He does a ton of spinning attacks, a little more than I would like to see, but he's pretty proficient with them. He carries a ton of power. The problem with him is that he's pretty hittable with all of his spinning shit. And he's also getting a little chinny because he's 38 years old. He's starting to slow down with his cardio and his chin's starting to leave. So if he fights someone that has any semblance of power and decent striking, it gets him in a little bit of trouble. The leech was able to put him out. I know Muslim will try to throw in some takedowns, which is super nice. But he's just fading, man. It sucks. It sucks to see. He's a good fighter. He's just too old. Time is an athlete's worst enemy, and you just see it each time Muslim goes out there. Parts of him are missing. On the flip side, I love fading Andre Fiallo. I think he hits like an absolute truck. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage in this matchup. His striking's really good. His striking's good. Very, very simplistic. He's one of these Killcliff FC Henry Hoop guys where it's no nonsense. You'll get him and Michael Chandler and these guys that go in pretty boxing oriented, pretty heavy, swings heavies, doesn't get hit a ton, but will connect with you. Everything he throws is hard. He throws everything to put you out. The problem is he's kind of low volume. He doesn't throw a ton. He will let you swing on him 8 times, and for him to try to do 1-1-2 down the middle, like that's basically what he does. So it is concerning. Also concerned about his chin. He got put out in his last fight against Jake Matthews like twice. Cameron Van Camp almost put him out. He rocked him. Miguel Bieza, I don't think he got rocked in that fight. Michelle Pereira rocked him. He gets rocked a ton. Chris Curtis put him out. Chidi put him out. He's one of these guys that has been knocked out. It still looks like it's okay, but he gets rocked a ton. But you can put this guy out. So Muslim could definitely catch that shot. One of those crazy spinning attacks could put him out easy. But his chin is bad, and Fiallo could very well just march forward and hit him with a 1-2 and put him out. So at the end of the day, I just see violence. This fight is not going to go the distance. Over under is hit at 2.5. Fine. Minus 130. Good value. The pick is going to be Andre. The bet is definitely the under 2.5. That's great value for one that is not going to last that long, but it should be fun while it lasts. The next fight won't be fun. Chase Sherman plus 160 going up against Waldo Cortez Acosta minus 190. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 135. Under 1.5 plus 105. I don't know, man. I hate both these guys, and they both suck. Let's start with Chase Sherman. He's coming off a win over Jared Bandera. Ooh. His striking is probably the best part of his game. It's okay, but he slows, he gasses, he does not have good cardio. His wrestling is not good. His jiu-jitsu is non-existent. He throws a decent amount when he's on the feet before he gasses out, but he wants to go out there, throw a ton of volume, and hit you with a power shot and knock you out in the first 3 minutes of the fight. That's what he wants to do. Otherwise, he gets real groggy, it gets real sloppy, and it's kind of an embarrassment to watch at times, especially if this thing hits the mat. His jiu-jitsu is literally, I don't think he's ever trained on the ground. On the flip side, Waldo Cortez Acosta did not impress me in his last fight. He also got coming off a win over Jared Vandera. Woo. I mean, his striking, I guess, was okay. His volume pretty high as well. You can put him out. I mean, he tried professional boxing and he got put out both times pretty quickly. 1 minute 41 seconds. So he's definitely someone that you can put out. He prefers to strike. That's his bread and butter. I don't really foresee him coming out and shooting any takedowns, going for any submissions. All of his wins are by knockout or decision. He has 0 submissions on his record. That's not his game. That's not what he's going to do. He's going to try to put you out. But my concern with Waldo, besides him not being the greatest, is the fact that he just fought Jared Vandera 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, and he was limping around the octagon. Jared came out and calf kicked him for 15 minutes, and Waldo could not walk. He needed assistance walking 3 weeks ago. There's no way that leg is 100%. There's no way this man trained for this fight. Lucky this is a heavyweight, so he probably doesn't have to cut much weight. He's just going out there, and he probably did not train. He's getting off the couch and just fighting. All he's been doing is rehabbing his leg for 3 weeks. So that concerns me, especially because Chase Sherman also likes to throw leg kicks. So I don't know, man. This has grease written all over it. I want no part of either one of these guys. Pick will be Waldo. One-legged Waldo may be enough for Chase just because Chase's cardio is going to fail him. But the bet, I don't know, man. I don't want to touch this fight. I don't know if I can. I guess the only way I could touch this fight would be Waldo. I'd pick Waldo. I'd bet Waldo, but I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good at all about it. Stay away from that one. All right. Then that takes us to the co-main event already. We have Ion Cutelaba at plus 150 going up against Kennedy Njoku at minus 175. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 125. Under 1.5 minus 105. Let's start with Ion because I like Ion, man. I think he's pretty good. His wrestling's top notch. He's a very, very good wrestler. He looks like a wrestler. His striking is not good. It's serviceable. It's not terrible. He throws heavies. He's only 28 years old, so he should be entering his prime. I've seen him gas in fights. I've seen him look just fine in the Devin Clark fight, but then I've seen him gas before as well. So I don't know what version you're getting. He's an absolute madman. He's just too crazy to ever trust money on. He's had a really tough schedule. I mean, in the UFC, he's fought Jared Cannonier, Misha Serkinov. He's fought Glover Teixeira, Magomed Ankalaev twice, Ryan Spann, Johnny Walker. All of these guys are ranked in the light heavyweight division, and Dustin Jacoby. But he also has wins over people that aren't good. Devin Clark is his best win. Otherwise, nope, Khalil Rountree probably his best win. Otherwise, I mean, Antigulov is not good. Luis Henrique da Silva, not good. Jonathan Wilson, not good. These guys aren't even in the promotion anymore. The only good wins he has is Khalil and Devin. I think Devin is still in the promotion. So at the end of the day, he has really, really, really tough losses. Like those guys are very, very good. So he's ultimately just a gatekeeper. So is Kennedy real? I don't know. I don't think Kennedy's good by any means. His striking's okay. His camp is good. Fortis is a good camp to be at. His volume's okay. He's improving each time. He's going to have a 10-inch reach advantage. That is absolutely massive. I just think Kennedy's a little green. He's one of these guys that isn't actually good. He just has the physical attributes. This guy is absolutely huge. Like he is massive. He relies on his athleticism opposed to his actual technique as a fighter. He's been doing this rope-a-dope approach where he allows everyone to beat the crap out of him for the first round and a half, and then he comes back as they're tired and fires away. It works when you're durable, and he seems somewhat durable, but Daun Jung was able to put the lights out. Can Ion Cutelaba put the lights out? If he catches them, yeah, but that's highly unlikely. What we're going to see is Kennedy's wrestling tested. We saw it tested against Carl Roberson. Carl Roberson is not a wrestler. He's a glory kickboxer who tried to wrestle, and Kennedy stuffed that and destroyed him on the ground. Nikolai Naragamenu did not wrestle at all that fight. I have no idea why, but he refused to. Daun Jung knocked him out. Danilo Marquez, they did get to the ground, and Danilo won that. He won it on the ground until he got KO'd because he has no cardio and he's terrible too. So at the end of the day, we've only seen him on the ground twice. We saw him on top on the ground against Carl Roberson and he looked fine. We saw him on his back against Danilo Marquez. It did not look good. So I don't know. I don't know what to do with this guy. Ion is going to shoot, though. He will wrestle. He's one of these guys that if he knows his route is to wrestle, he will. So we're going to learn about Kennedy. I'll choose Kennedy. I'll say he wins. My gut is telling me Kennedy wins. How would I bet it? Ion. I can't bet Kennedy. I think he wins. I think his ground game will be enough to get up to the feet and, again, make the wrestler tired, and Ion will gas. Kennedy does have good cardio for how big he is. So I do like that. The better striker and the better cardio, as long as he can get up, I think he wins. But if Ion is able to hold him down there, things are going to get greasy. And I'd rather be on the betting side beforehand. I know I just said that with Carla Esparza, and Wei Li was able to destroy her and make it look easy. It could look eerily similar, to be 100% honest with you. But I will, if it's plus 150 on the wrestler side, I need to see it first. So the pick is Kennedy. The bet is going to be Ion. And I don't feel great about it. All right. Then the last fight, we're already on to the main event. Again, if you haven't already, for whatever reason, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe, like everywhere on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are taking over. But we have the main event. We have Derek Lewis at plus 165 going up against Sergey Spivac at minus 195. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 115. Under 1.5 115. It is what it is. Let's start with Derek Lewis because he's easy to break down. Derek Lewis has a ton of power, most knockouts in UFC history, 55% takedown defense. Cardio, not the greatest. Age, 37. His durability, not the greatest. He is a one-trick pony. He can't wrestle. He has zero ground game. What is he going to do? Try to put those paws on you and put you out. Sneaky fast head kick. You don't see it coming from him, but ton of power. Again, literally all of his wins are by knockout. Aside of Alir Latifi went to a decision, Lagoy went to a decision. Francis went to a decision in that fight. Oh, I forgot about that fight. I try to take that out of my memory. All in all, the rest of his fights have been just finishes, and he is a knockout king. He is legitimately the knockout king, the most knockouts in UFC history. So if he touches you, you go out. On the flip side, Spivac, very good wrestler. His wrestling is top notch as of late. We saw him fight people that all they can do is knock you out in his last two fights. We saw him against Augustus Sakai. What can Sakai do? Try to knock you out, put you out early, and he took him down with ease and beat the shit out of him. Before that, Greg Hardy hits extremely hard. All he can do is hit you. What did Sergey do? Go out there, wrestled him, and beat the shit out of him. That's what he does. He knows what the game plan has to be. His striking's not bad when he's on the feet. He's fine. He has a good hard jab. It's not terrible, but it's heavyweight. It's fine. He hits hard enough. Is he chinning? I don't know. I don't know. All of his losses are by Marcin Tybura outworked him. Walt Harris, explosion, put him out. Tom Aspinall, explosion, put him out. And does Derek hit as hard as them? Yeah, he does. Derek can put anyone out, but he's got to connect. So I don't know. The cardio definitely goes to Spivac. Wrestling, Spivac. Ground game, Spivac's ground game sneaky good. Spivac. Striking, Lewis. Spivac should win. Spivac wins 8 times out of 10. Is Derek Lewis going to catch him in something? We had this exact same fight with Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades beats Derek Lewis 9 times out of 10, but he fought him on the one time and he put him out on a little sneaky uppercut as Spivac or as Lewis or sorry, as Blades went to go shoot a takedown. So I don't know, man. Spivac should win this fight. He wins majority of the time, but I just learned with Dom Reyes, if you're fighting someone that all they can do is pretty much knock you out, that's their only path, and they hit heavy, I don't want to stand in front of them. And no one hits heavier than Derek Lewis, so I don't think I almost locked Spivac, but I'm scared of that Lewis power. So the pick is going to be Spivac. The bet would have to be Lewis. I'm not recommending it, but it wouldn't surprise me. And then, yeah, that's the only way to play it. And that is UFC Vegas 65, Lewis versus Spivac. It's a decent card. It's not the biggest name value, but the fight's beautiful. Chef's kiss. It should be a violent night. It should be a fun night. And it only gets better when we make the money. Let's get it.